The online travel platform Booking.com recently released a report titled How India Travels, published jointly with McKinsey and Company as the knowledge partner. The report found that India's travel sector is experiencing unprecedented growth, particularly in the post-pandemic era. And according to projections, Indian travelers' total expenditure will reach somewhere close to 410 billion US dollars by 2030, with India becoming the fourth largest worldwide spender on travel. Furthermore, the report anticipates that the number of trips taken by Indian travelers will increase from 2.3 billion in 2019 to an impressive 5 billion in 2030. Well, this trend is not only indicative of how things are panning out after the pandemic, but also how India and its middle class, or rather its aspirational middle class, is growing. Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, joins us on the show. Mithali Nikore, economist, also with us on the program. Dr. Malika MG, senior economist, joins us to talk more about this. And last but not the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian. Professor Nalapat, how do we go from not having any kind of tourism or any kind of a perspective also to where tourism industry is going to go a couple of years ago to India, in fact, becoming, or rather Indians becoming one of those lots who travel the most in the world? Is this perhaps also hinting towards how fast India is growing? Or do you think there's so much pent-up wanderlust that it had to come out once things settle down post the COVID era?
Well, I'd like to say, Vineet, that India is certainly now on the world map in a way that has not happened for many, many decades. It's now discussed all over the world. Newspapers write about events in India. Sometimes they write correct things, sometimes they write incorrectly, but they're always reporting about India. And there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of what is called buzz about India. So I think the fact that our citizens are traveling different parts of the world, well, that's a very good thing, because they can see for themselves what our citizens are, and our citizens are by and large law-abiding. They are by and large peaceful people, and they are by and large industrious and hardworking. I mean, those who live abroad and who have seen the Indian diaspora abroad can testify to these qualities. So I think it's a very welcome sign that you're seeing a lot of tourism movement out of India. And I think similarly now you're getting a lot of attention paid to tourism in India, because India can offer a huge number of different kinds of tourism experiences. Whether you're looking at the historical context, you're looking at the cultural, you're looking at the musical, or you're a foodie, or so many other facets of life in India, I think it's important to curate those different facets into different tourism streams. And that is happening over the last 3 or 4 years. So I think then you're going to see an immense increase in the number of people also coming to India. And by and large, the Indian people are very welcoming, they're very friendly. So I think that too will reinforce the good impression that people have of our country and its people.
Absolutely right, sir. Dr. Malika MG, India's economy and of course, furthermore, India's growing stature as an international destination and a country, that respects people and also likes to get respect when we travel abroad, is perhaps one of those predominant reasons why the tourism industry, which was in fact in the gallows for a couple of years, is bouncing back.
Yeah, definitely. India is just like that Madhu sir said, that it's a very culturally, and also the diversity is so it cannot be compared with any other countries in the world. So like that, we have the the tourism sector industry is having a very crucial role in our GDP and employment generation and everything. And also climate-wise, in different states are having different climates, different languages, and this is a very good destiny for the tourists to come in India. And we can see that India is recently after COVID and all, psychological things also happened during the COVID period and all. Now people had realized that it's nothing to sit inside and thinking about something future is nothing there. So the people, the attitude also had changed. So definitely India can gain a lot from this tourism. But we can see that in the World Tourism Index, that 2019 when compared to 2022, it had dropped little bit points. And that part we have to just see what are the strength of our in India's tourism industry and what are the weaknesses, and that way we have to just analyze this weaknesses and to correct it, because you know that in India, in some cases, the labor, the environment, is tourism environment, all these kind of things we need to change a little bit more and we think about it. And also, you know that we are in Indian, different places are having different type of culture, food habits, and everything. But we need to explore more on it because we have to specialize. As far as Kerala is concerned, you know that the God's own country is a very beautiful state in Kerala. So, but the problem is that we don't have much transporting rail facilities here in a local tourism and all. No, so for that, this kind of specifically in which places the people who are coming here and they have very little time, and also they need to spend and explore much. And also in a global economy, we need to be very much cautious about preserving our own culture. That means the food habits and all. So everywhere, every hotels and they are getting everything. It's exactly the same thing. So that kind of things is actually in Kerala or in India, almost all the states are having some specialities, specific things, food items and the cultural items and all these kind of things. So for that, we need to specialize in these areas, and we need to have to create this kind of our nature. No, we respect this. Tourist, and because we Aditi Devo Bhava, so that kind of things are there, because we are culturally, we are always welcoming others. So this nature we need to create more. But on the other side, we need to see that, you know, that the gender equality, the violences and also these kind of things are very big threat in the case of tourism industry is concerned. And also, so we need to be a little bit more inclusive nature. We need to accept everyone. So culturally, so this kind of arrogance and all, no, so that we have to just, our culture is not like we have to accept everything. In the case of the thinking and all, no, we need to develop. So if these kind of things we are taken into consideration, definitely I think that in India can be the number one country in this tourism world, and also we can expect more job opportunities and more in GDP and all these kind of things. At the same time, we need to be very much cautious about the environment conditions, because whenever the people are coming and we are not very strict rules and regulations or strict some kind of policy we should have to preserve our this biodiversity or this environment, the pollutions and all. Now, wherever we are going, we have the culture also in education institution itself, the curriculum itself. We need to cultivate this kind of tourism culture, how to behave, how to this waste disposal and all, and renovation, using renewable energy sources. So all these kind of things we need to think more and to discuss more. And so if we are doing that way, I think India is having a very great opportunity in this area.
You're absolutely right. And Mithali, you know, of course, to boost the tourism, you know, there's been a considerable amount of marketing that also has been done. The fact that, you know, a number of airlines have procured record number of aircrafts, you know, which are of course going to be supplied in the next few years, has also served, you know, the tourism industry more ways than one. And of course, you know, when it comes to India and the incredibility that comes with it, has also appealed to the entire world in the face of a lot of tourist destinations falling flat. If you look at Western Europe, if you look at some of the other places in Eastern Europe as well, including Russia, you know, travel and tourism there is a dud at this point in time. So India is not only an alternative when it comes to supply chains or a defense partner or an economic partner for the Western world and the rest of the world, it is also a tourism partner now.
Absolutely, Vineet. And, you know, this is a great story. Firstly, Shubho Vijayadashmi to everyone. I'm sitting in Kolkata today, and you know, I've been panel hopping. My number is 21. In Kolkata, we have this competition of how many pandals have you seen. So I visited all the major ones, and I think I'd like to really place my remarks in this, because the Durga Puja in Calcutta recently got the UNESCO World Heritage Tag. And what this has done is brought a lot of foreign tourists to Calcutta during Durga Puja, for whom, so many special arrangements are being done by the puja committees here, recognizing that, the crowds that you typically see during pujol, they may not be able to actually navigate those crowds, which is absolutely fair. And the puja committees are making sure that, even the tourists who are coming from abroad are very well taken care of. And this is exactly the Atiti Devo Bhava point that Malika ma'am just made, that, we really welcome people to come here and explore our culture, be it in Calcutta, be it in the south, be it in the north. And so, for example, locations like Varanasi have become exceedingly popular amongst foreign tourists, as has Amritsar. So these are places which are getting more than 1 million tourists a year. Gangtok now gets 1.3 million tourists a year. And out of that, almost 40-50% are domestic. So there's a lot of domestic demand. There's also a lot of international demand. But what is driving this is also improved transportation. Like you mentioned, of course, the airline industry mission, the project Udan, which connected so many new destinations to airports, which were, previously unconnected. And that, of course, makes it easier. What we need to focus on, of course, like Malika ma'am talked about, a single woman traveler. I actually did pandal hopping at 4 a.m. onwards on my own in Calcutta without feeling any fear at all as a single woman. And I think that's the standard we need to achieve all over the country. But secondly, of course, we need to invest in women's safety. And I'm seeing actually Chennai is focusing on improving women's safety in tourist locations and branding itself as a city which is, safe for women tourists. So that's a huge way that, a lot of cities are now investing. But the other thing we need to do, of course, as, we all need to do, is improve walking infrastructure. Because when the tourists are walking around, what they typically will say is that, your footpaths are encroached or they're broken. So I think that's one thing we really need to focus on as a country. Urban mobility, which, of course, we are focusing on improving the metro and all these systems, which is happening. And that's also driving a lot of urban tourism. But the most important is the investment in the Vande Bharat trains. I think that is really connecting the country in a way like we have never seen before. Because even the airline ticket prices are now, airlines are now competing with the Vande Bharat Express trains, where you can decide, do I need to go to the airport 2 hours, 3 hours in advance, stand in those queues, give my bag for check-in, then take the flight, or can I just get onto a train where I'll have internet connectivity throughout on the train and I don't have to give my bag anywhere and, just get point to point. So I think these kind of transport alternatives and transport solutions also, trains are very important because the kind of foreign tourists we are trying to attract, they are very used to traveling on trains. Like when we also go, to Europe or to UK for a holiday, we'll all typically take a lot of trains. And bringing in the high quality Vande Bharat Express makes life very easy and very familiar. But we do need to work on information. And I think that is where we are really, need to invest more, where in multiple foreign languages as well as in Indian languages, we should be able to give somebody who has come to a, very crowded urban station for the first time, easy information to navigate that station and to be able to, go from place to place. So I think these are 2-3 areas where we can work and we will work and we are seeing the work happening. But the beauty, the culture, and just how you immerse yourself in the festivals of India is the real story. And I think today I find myself so inspired by Ma Durga and, the beauty of the pandals in Kolkata is that I cannot imagine a more beautiful place and a more beautiful time. So, I really think we are on a really good track here.
Wonderful points there, Mithali. Adit, coming to you. In fact, taking a leaf out of what Mithali also said that, it's all right. It's good to enjoy, what we have achieved so far. But, there is a lot of scope when it comes to tourism coming to India, gravitating towards India. that will also propel the government, state governments, the central government, local governments, to work on the infrastructure which will facilitate this growth. Other countries, of course, are benefiting from this rush, but it's time for India also to cash in on it.
Absolutely, I completely concur with everything that Mithali just said. Just creating that sort of environment of synergies of how you essentially synergize between the various travel loops to ensure that the journey for or an experience for a traveler is smoothened out. They feel safe, they feel secure, and they feel comfortable traveling from the destination A to B. I think that's absolutely quintessential. Just like Pitali, I am also sitting in Calcutta. I am also hopping from one pandal to the other, and the transcend the shift that I've seen vis-a-vis the previous pujos that I've attended is the digitization. Every pandal that I've been to, every pandal has a digitized payment portal. So that has made life so much more easier. It's remarkable. But the other aspect that we also need to focus on is the government's ability to manage our inflation, where the rest of the world is essentially battling with high food costs, high living expenses. India's effective management of its inflation has also propelled and encouraged that sort of spending ability. So from being conventionally an economy that used to be saving, now you're seeing that you're transcending into a more spending economy, which is also encouraging the synergies of different travel industries to come together and think about travel tourism, which is why destinations like Gangtok or destinations like Varanasi or Kochi are becoming the new travel destinations as opposed to the metro cities. Vineet.
Absolutely. Professor Nalapat, what did you make of the points that Mithali made, that walking is essentially perhaps a course of action which most tourists prefer to do in cities, and India in that regard still has some more mileage to accrue and some more effort to be done. Of course, it all boils down to the infrastructure that you create. We have our places of tourism, we have the infrastructure in certain places, but to become a holistic destination for tourism, what is the policy change that needs to go through an overhaul?
Well, I think Mithali is right in the sense that in some parts of India, some cities, the payments are not adequate for example, rapid walking. And if you go in for rapid walking, then you may have an accident or something, because you may find some slab or something else is badly placed or missing. That is true. But overall, the reality is that a lot of change has happened over the past few years. Vande Bharat is an obvious example. Secondly, the example of showing off our small towns. Now, in the G20 meetings that took place, world leaders came, and the top people from all over the world came, and they didn't only come to the metros, they came to the smaller towns. They were brought to a smaller town because events took place in those smaller towns. And the smaller towns themselves got a lift, and they started thinking of ways of making themselves look better and attracting people from all over the world. So that competitive spirit has really taken deep root over the last few years. You look at Rajasthan, for example. In Rajasthan, you've got some old palaces where you can stay in. I mean, I've stayed in some of them. Believe me, it's not very comfortable, but it's unique. It's fantastic, because you know that you're staying in a place that is several hundred years old. As you look out of the balcony, you can imagine battles being fought there. You can imagine people going about their daily life to 300-400 years ago. And that magic is created in some of those places. So it compensates for the fact that the stairs may be very, very, very steep, or there may be other, the issues that are lacking. But the overall ambience is absolutely wondrous. And like Rajasthan, all over India, you have that kind of link with the past, link with the present, link with culture, link with the people. And I think it's important that all these get more rapidly identified. Together with physical infrastructure, we have to take care of what I would call the mental infrastructure. And that has been touched upon by some of our speakers. And that is basically, creating a perception and creating a reality that they feel happy in. And as I said, the Rajasthan example, you got some old palaces, and believe me, they are magical to stay in. In the same way, all across India, I've come across so many locations that would be magical for tourists to visit, but which have not yet been advertised. Now, after the G20, I think a lot more effort is going into that. But the reality is, Vineet, there is no place like India when it comes to the sheer diversity, the scale, and the excellence of the experience that a tourist can have.
Absolutely. Almost out of time. I'm going to take concluding thoughts from the rest of our panelists. Dr. Mallika, we've all heard of trade deficit. India also has a tourism deficit. How can that be compensated for in the years to come?
Definitely, and I'm agreeing with all the points which all the speakers are saying. But for me, it's not the already developed regions. We need to have this rural, in India, which a major portion the rural areas are there, urban areas are there. And I also visited in India in some rural areas of some states last year. And I had seen that. So if the people's life also, that also very important. So because in the labors and the safety cannot be created by the government itself. So that the people, the labor laws, they should get protection, and also that kind of atmosphere also should be there in this livelihood also. I'm not saying it's not there. So we need to give more importance. And as far as Vande Bharat is concerned, I think it had a very good step, because the speed is very important as far as global world is concerned. But for my experience, if Vande Bharat in Kerala, two Vande Bharat that came, and I'm a traveler, I'm just traveling from one destination to another, 50 kilometers, but 2 hours, I have to just stay in one railway station for allowing this Vande Bharat to go. So, and in the local tourist also, we need to consider this kind of local tourists, because all people need to have entertainment. I'm not saying that air flight and Vande Bharat cannot capture all the things. So we need to just think about the local train facility, doctor transporting. And it's not that earlier times we have a railway track and all. It's not like that. We can just have different railway tracks to create development in regions. And earlier times we had good universities. This started in rural areas to create the development in that particular area. So we need to think that way, because that in India is having a very unexplored resources, unexplored places, a lot of places, very beautiful places, and beautiful the people, the culture, and everything is there. So, and language is also there. And also we need to have connection with this tourism and this kind of education tourism also, because that the people can come and stay for some 1 week or 2 weeks and all, and tourism and this vacation time, they are coming and they can just have something, some cultural forms, art forms or something. So that kind of development should be there. So for that, we need to find out this. It's not that exactly same way hotels, restaurant like that. Other way also, because in some sports they need to, because the people, in developed countries, in underdeveloped
all right, ma'am.
countries.
Let me quickly, get some closing comments from Mithali and Adit as well. 30 seconds to each one of you. We've completely run out of time. Mithali?
Thanks. So, Vinny, just very quickly, I think our name of the game needs to be facilitation. Regardless of whom we are facilitating. For that, we need more skill training, we need infrastructure development, and we need better hospitality facilities all over the country. More investment, more PPPs, more private sector, and definitely, again, just a feeling of Atithi Devo Bhava instilled in all of us.
All right. Adit?
Vineet, you mentioned something about the tourism deficit. I think the one way that we can actually mitigate is, the heavy tourism deficit is by encouraging more foreign travelers and ensuring that, the facilities management that is provided for them, when they actually arrive into the country is better equipped. I had a friend who's just visited from London, and he was traveling from Bagdogra to Calcutta, and he took the Vande Bharat Express, and he was absolutely amazed that, he had somebody cleaning the toilet every 2 hours. He said, even the Virgin trains in the UK do not get that kind of facilities. So we just need to improve our infrastructure in general and ensure that a civic sense is improved as well. There's more training provided, there's more education provided at the grassroots level to ensure that we're better equipped to handle tourists from abroad. Vineet,
All right.
Thanks.
Well, would like to thank everyone who became a part of this conversation. Great inputs have been shared, and of course some of them also need to be imbibed.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.